Okay, Catherine may be delayed. So I want to welcome everybody to Happy May 1st, Hot Topic, all about property assessment in Davidson County and reflection to our Tennessee state requirements. Vivian Wilhoite, thank you for coming, and Tammy Williams, thank you for being the assistant to get everything scheduled with Vivian in the office. We're going to hear about the role of property assessor and the office. We're going to hear about some of the budget requirements, workforce, and any kind of benefit to the public and unintended consequences that may impact property owners. We're going to talk for about 45 minutes, and we'll open it up to questions. So without further ado, and let me recognize the gentleman with you. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Randy Ward, and I'm the Chief Deputy of Operations, and I've been here in the office for 25 years.
Thank you, Randy, for coming today. Okay, Vivian, let us know everything we need to
know. Okay, absolutely. We're going to get started with the presentation here, as I'm going to share my screen. Here, okay, yes, I'm going to share my screen. And as you know, first of all, okay, yes, can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right, very good, perfect. Thank you so much. So yes, so I'm so happy to be able to be here with you today to give you information regarding the reappraisal of 2025. How do I go next? So first of all, what is property reappraisal? The property reappraisal is the updating of the estimated values for all properties in Davidson County, and it is to reflect the current market conditions. So we have to look at the market. And then, of course, the new market values that we provide, they are opinions of values using the mass appraisal approach. When you go to the bank to do a loan and you want to use your home as your collateral, in reference to get the loan, that is a fee appraisal. But the Davidson County Property Assessor's Office, along with all counties across Tennessee, when we do our reappraisal, it's a mass appraisal, and that's where we are valuing a large group of properties all at one time. For Davidson County, that's 281,000 parcels and growing. No, God is not making any more land, but the growing means that properties are being subdivided. Why are some real properties are worth more? Well, one of the reasons why, because of the growth that has happened in Davidson County, properties are selling for more. Another reason why properties are selling for more is because of the high demands for limited housing supplies, you already know. And then last but not least, just know that the reappraisal, they reflect the market changes, market behavior to keep property values current and equitable. Another reason why we reappraise is that we're obligated under the law. Basically, we're obligated under the law. Formerly, it was a 4-year reappraisal. Now we've gone to a 3-year reappraisal. And we hope to, of course, get to an annual reappraisal because we do believe that it will reduce the sticker shock for property owners as we are under an obligation to reappraise. Davidson County last reappraisal was in 2021. The next reappraisal will be in 2028. That is approved by the State Board of Equalization. In the first 3 years, we are looking, in this case, in the first 2 years for the next 3-year reappraisal, we're spending time doing our visual inspections of 281,000 and growing plus parcels. And then in the third year, and formally the 4th year, is that we do our value models that are calibrated and analyzed. Well, why do we reappraise? Well, as we go from one appraisal to another, market values have not changed uniformly across the county. So that's one of the reasons why we must reappraise in order to restore equity and values. Without doing so, a property or property owners in a cold market could be paying more than their fair share of the tax burden. How do we reappraise? Well, we do accepted appraisal practices. We analyze the market. We use cost approach, income approach, and the market approach to value. We must comply with standards such as the Uniform Standard of Professional Appraisals practice, and other standards or rules or laws will come from the from the state of Tennessee General Assembly, as well as the State Board of Equalization. Those guidelines, those laws, and those standards we must follow in reference to providing you with our opinion of value, as if you were to put a sign in your yard on 1/1 of the reappraisal year when the market value is established. So it's very important that we must apply the law to the work that we do. This is very important here in reference to the structure of the tax system. This indication is clear in reference to who does what, and hopefully remove confusion with the public as we talk about this. In the state constitution, which guides us, that's where the ad valorem tax system is established. There is the assessment function and the taxation function, and on both sides of the fence, they have their responsibility. On the side of the fence of assessment function, that would be us, Randy, my amazing staff, myself. We are charged with identifying lists, appraising, classifying all taxable properties to achieve equity and value to prepare the annual assessment roll. And of course, based on the law that we do it every 4 years, now every 3 years, that is approved by the State Board of Equalization. Once we provide you with our opinion of value, that opinion of value is sent to the county trustee. And all the county trustee does is place that value on the tax roll. But your tax bill cannot be calculated by itself with just a value. So there must be a tax rate that tells the property owner what is it that you're going to pay in taxes. That is called the taxation function. That's assigned to the county, city legislative bodies. And it is the mayor and the metro council, in this case, that has to make a decision on a budget each year. And in that budget decision, they set a tax rate. Not every year set a tax rate. They could, right, Randy? They could set a tax rate every year if they like. But in a reappraisal year, there's a tax rate that is set by the state, and then there's a tax rate that is set by the mayor and metro council above the state or below the state's rate that they set. But whatever that tax rate they approve, which is their sole authority, that is sent over to the county trustee to be applied against the value that has been provided to the property owner by the assessor of property. And that establishes the tax bill, which usually arrive by law in the first week of October. So what is it that we do? We identify, list, appraise, and classify all taxable properties to achieve fairness and equity in values and prepare the annual assessment roll in a timely manner. So that's the reason why we're not called the tax assessor, because we don't do the tax rate. The tax assessor is the mayor and metro council. That's how we say very funnily, but at the same time, it is true. Jokingly is the word, but it is true. They set the tax rate. And we are the assessor of property because we establish the value. And these are the categories in reference to the categories that we provide for a taxable area, a taxable assessment. This does not include the exempted properties or the common area parcels. This is critical. This is beyond critical. Reappraisal is not designed to raise revenue. It is not. We are not doing a job to raise revenue for the county. The reason why is because the law prevents local government from doing so. The law prevents local government from realizing a windfall in added revenue as a result of the reappraisal on existing construction. So it is important that when you think about that, we're not raising money. Let me give you give you an example. If you, in a reappraisal year, let's say I have said that your value for your property is $100,000, okay? Then the tax rate at that time is 3.254. When the reappraisal year comes along and we give you a new value and your value is $200,000, if we were to keep the tax rate, if the state would allow the tax rate of 3.254 to remain, that windfall in money is what the government will get. The state does not allow that. So that 3.25 by the state of Tennessee to ensure that the county does not get a windfall in revenue on existing construction as a result of the reappraisal. it requires its tax rate to be adjusted after reappraisal is completed, and that is according to state law, so that the county will produce the same amount of revenue that it received in the previous year on existing construction. That is very important. Randy's going to take over from here to talk to you about how the state reduces that tax rate to a revenue neutral certified tax rate and how that works.
Okay, and hello everyone. And this is only an example here. This is something that we were presenting to everybody when we were before the reappraisal was actually completed, and then we just continued with this example. We do use the 3.254 urban services tax rate in the example, but in this case, this was a 40% median increase across the county in the example. In actuality, for 2025, there was a 45% increase across the county. In this example, the 40% increase, the state would reduce the CTR, or the certified tax rate, to 2.324. So it would go all the way from 3.254 to 2.324 because the values went up 40%. So in these examples, we have a green, blue, and red house. All three of them were valued at $300,000 in 2024, and all three of them paid $2,440 based on the 3.254 tax rate.
And these houses are located in different parts of the county.
Yes, exactly. And just like we say, properties increase according to location, 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 location.
Absolutely.
And so in 2025, in this example, the greenhouse went up 25% to $375,000, or beneath or under the 45% median increase, 40% median increase in the example. The blue house went up 40%, which is the median increase, to $420,000, and the red house went up 55% to $465,000, which is over the median increase. So in the next column, you'll see what they ended up paying in taxes. The one that went up 25% under the 45% median increase was reduced by $261. And this is exactly what happened in 2017 and 2021 when the mayor and the council did not raise the tax rate in the reappraisal year. Everybody that was under the median increase, their taxes were decreased. In this example, the blue house went up exactly the median increase of 40%. So it paid the same exact amount, which is $2,440 is what they paid in 2024. The red house went up 55% or over, so they paid $261 more than what they paid in 2024. But you'll see at the bottom where the totals are, the same amount of taxes was collected on these existing properties as was collected in 2024, and that's what the certified tax rate is intended to do.
That keeps the reappraisal neutral, revenue neutral. And so in 2025, what happened? Before the revenue reappraisal was completed, the tax rates for the General Services District was 2.922 per $100 of assessed value, and the Urban Services District rate was 3.254 per $100 of assessed value. In April, our office provided, or the assessor and my amazing staff, we provided you with your property value, your new property value based on the market. We must look at the market. And that opinion of value is provided as if you were to put a for sale sign in your yard on 1/1. Property owners were informed of their rights to appeal if they disagreed with the value or the classification. The state of Tennessee did their role in ensuring that the reappraisal was revenue neutral, to be revenue neutral. So they reduced the tax rate for the General Services District from 2.922 to 1.955. They further reduced the Urban Services District tax rate of 3.254 to 2.222, both per $100 of assessed value. This is to ensure that there is not a windfall in revenue as a result of the reappraisal. The council and the mayor have the opportunity and the sole authority to keep these two these two revenue neutral tax rate. They have the option to reduce even further these two tax rates. They also have the option to increase above these two revenue neutral certified tax rate. They chose on May the 1st, the mayor proposed to increase the state's revenue neutral certified tax rate taking the 2.222 for the urban services district to 2.814 per $100 of assessed value. They further increased the general services district of 1.955 tax rate to 2.782 per $100 of assessed value. Both of these tax rates are revenue producing tax rates. On June 17th, the State Board of Education, as I stated, reduced the certified tax rate. The reduced certified tax were accepted by the mayor, but after they accept the mayor, after these tax rates are accepted, by the mayor and the Metro Council, then they can increase them. We probably should have these two bullets crisscross switched around. Also on that same date, that's when the proposal to increase the revenue neutral tax rate to revenue generating tax rates was also done in the same meeting. And yes, the increased tax rate are definitely historically low tax rates in comparison to current and prior years. However, the mayor of the Metro Council's GSD, General Services District, and Urban Services District increased tax rate were revenue generating, not revenue neutral, even though they're historically low tax rate. And for a quick moment, I want to explain to you about the two tax districts. In the Urban Services District, that's basically where a person lives whose trash is picked up by Metro. In the General Services District, that's where someone lives whose trash is picked up by a private hauler, and you are paying them individually. You can calculate a tax bill using the tax rate and the property value. You have to have both. So when people see their value, they think that their tax bill has gone up, but not necessarily, depending on how much their tax bill, their value has gone up. So what we do, we don't set the tax rate. The tax rate is what is set by the mayor and Metro Council. We're responsible for setting the value. The mayor and Metro Council is responsible for setting the tax rate. The increased tax rate of the General Services District and the Urban Services District are effective as of 1/1/2025. And the reason why that is critical to know is that when the tax rate were increased on June the 17th, they're still effective as of 1/1 of the year. When we gave you your value in April, the first week of April, it is effective as of 1/1 of that same year, 2025. And it is the Davidson County trustee that uses both the increased tax rate and our value from the assessor property in order to calculate your tax bill. There are a couple of facts that we want to bring out. The facts regarding the two factors that's on your tax bill, the value and the tax rate. One, the assessor property's revenue neutral 2025 reappraisal, it showed that the median increase in values countywide was 45%. That's the middle. So anyone whose value that has increased by less than 45%, it is very important that you know that, and we'll tell you why. If your value increased by more than 45%, it's important that you know that, and we'll tell you why. But both of these, but the reappraisal, was based on 2024 sales in the real estate market. This is where the point comes out of what I was stating before about increase by 45% below and above. If the revenue neutral certified tax rates set by the state, set by the state of Tennessee, wait, that's not correct. If the revenue neutral certified tax rate, that should say set by the state of Tennessee and increased by the mayor and the Metro Council for the USD and GSD, if that certified tax rate had not been increased to revenue producing tax rates, property owners whose value increased by less than 45% would have paid the same amount of taxes if it was right at 45%, or if it was substantially less than 45%, they would have paid less in taxes in comparison to their 2024 tax bill. 1/2 of Davidson County did not increase by more than 45%. That's critical. 1/2 of Davidson County did not increase by more than 45% of the countywide median. So we've had a lot of talk about the downtown bars. You've heard the downtown bars very upset about their tax bill. We cannot address a tax billing, but we can address the value. Remember, in a tax billing, there are two factors, the value and the tax rate. The value you can appeal. The tax rate set by the Mayor Metro Council, you cannot appeal. But let's talk about the downtown bars. I'm sorry. You want to share some information about what we did from 2021 to 2025, Randy, about the downtown bars, as well as any bars across the county?
Exactly. So all across the county, of course, COVID occurred in 2020, and so it affected values in 2021 because it was still ongoing. So what we did was we hired a professional known nationally to come in and let us know what type of effect COVID had on these retail buildings, retail properties, bars, theaters, hotels, and so we took that advice from him and we made adjustments to all of those properties. So every downtown bar received a nice reduction, which was 20 to 25% on their building values, and
as well as bars across the county.
Yes, all bars. Yes, all bars, all retail, all hotels, theaters, which took the biggest hit, received like a 50% reduction. So of course the land that's sitting there is worth what it's worth, and COVID didn't affect that, just like it didn't affect residential property. But we made those reductions. So then we get to 2025. We have to use 2024 sales, and with some bigger properties, where there aren't a lot of sales, you may use 22 and 23 sales. Well, the market started going up in 22 as soon as COVID was over, and so the bars and all retail and everything, they got to reap the rewards of those reductions for 4 full years. Okay, even though the values were going up in 2022, we can't legally go in and reappraise that property based on sales in the midst of the reappraisal cycle. So we have to wait until 2025 and use the 2024, 23 sales and to give them a new value. Yes, many of them did go up 200, 300, and a couple even 400, exactly, 400%. But that's because they were coming from a lower value there in 2021. We take responsibility for that, and of course they were raising Cain with the state legislature, and Cameron Sexton even went to the DPA, which is the Division of Property Assessments, and the comptroller, and asked for them to review everything. We've not heard anything back from them, and it's been months. We feel good about our values, and we feel like we did a good job of valuing everything. And when you roll into 2025, we can't use 2025 sales for a 1/125 value, but you'll see sales that are still occurring down there that are over what we have them appraised at down there. Jack's Barbecue sold for $15 million. We have right under $9 million on it, and there's a few more that sold. Losers, I think, sold for $10 million, and we have around $8 million on it. It's so we feel like we did a good job. People think that we can do something about the changing those values. We have to look at sales, and it has to be based on comparable sales and reliable data. And we follow the law. I mean, that's what, we had a presentation last night. That's what we kept having to preach. We have to follow the law. We have to follow the guidelines set to us by the Tennessee legislature and the Division of Property Assessments in the comptroller's office.
And as well as the regulations set through use tax.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, and so I do want to add one other thing in reference to the downtown bars or any of the items, any of the categories or classifications that were impacted in the pandemic. 3,000 counties across the United States were all grappling with how to value property in a pandemic. That was something that all the assessors across the United States were grappling with. And we sought to lean not to our own understanding, but to make sure that we have the right data in place as we are providing our opinion of value. That is so very important. And it's not just about the downtown bars. It's about any property that is being impacted by some type of occurrence, whether it be a fire, whether it be a storm or anything like that. For residential property, the pandemic did not impact a residential property because a residential property is not being used as a business, but it is being used as living. But what can impact a residential property is fire, storm, anything like that. And when those things happen, there are tools in our toolbox that would allow us to adjust the value on a residential property by a certain time in reference to providing a value based on that condition. So those type of things are in the laws that allows us to be fair, equitable, and transparent. We thought you'd be interested in the heat maps to show you how Nashville has grown. People say Nashville is growing. I say Nashville has grown, and it continues to grow. But we do know at some point the growth will become to be more steady. In 2017, when you blessed me with your vote, and if you did not bless me then, you'll have another opportunity maybe in 2028. But nonetheless, in 2017, property owners saw a 37% median increase in values countywide. As you can see, a lot of the growth right here is in the center of the county. Now, that is what we call a clear picture of gentrification. People wanted to be closer to downtown, moving into areas where they could be close to the downtown core, and where properties were possibly not as valuable, but because they want to be in the downtown core, easier to get back and forth from work or whatever the case may be, property began to be more valuable in the downtown core. As we move to the next reappraisal, which is during the pandemic, look what was going on in reference to the market. The market shows that people are moving further out because the absorption in the center of the county became so much that now we need to get more bang for our buck. So we're going to start moving outward to find more bang for our buck. You want to add any more to that, Randy?
No, I mean that about says it. I mean it's be sure that when you're looking at this one, look down here because she's going to put the 2025 map. Look at the Bellevue area over here and what ends up happening with that.
This is all of Bellevue, including this spot that's right here that is blue. That is inside the Bellevue district of 35. And we found this pretty interesting. But nonetheless, here we go to the 2025 reappraisal to see how sales were being mobilized across Davidson County. And there you go. Becomes somewhat of a hodgepodge, but not so much because everything was moving west. At first, you saw where things were in the center. Then you saw people moving out to the north and to the southeast. Now you see people moving west, as well as to the area of, this is Jolton. And in some of these areas, you have a lot more vacant land. Would you not agree with that, Randy?
Yes.
So people were moving to try to get more bang for their buck there. And look at that little pocket right there. Randy, you want to talk about that pocket?
Yeah, and that little pocket, if in the two previous, in 17 and 21, that was one pocket in there that was right on the edge of the increase. So it was like in 31% in 2021. So it was higher than everything surrounding it. And even in 17, I think it was a little higher than that. And there's a lot of businesses right in there in that area too. So I think that's why it's showing as blue, but it's just right under that median increase. It's still 42%.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So as a overview in reference to the reappraisal of 2025, the Davidson County Assessor Property Office of Assessments is funded by local government. Its procedures are governed by the state comptroller, the state legislature, and the independent state board of equalization. You have to remember the reappraisal is revenue neutral. It is a revenue neutral process. It is not being conducted in order to raise money for the county. Why? Because the Tennessee certified tax rate law intends for it is intended to prevent local government from realizing a windfall of added revenues on existing construction due to the reappraisal. It is required that the tax rate be adjusted to produce the same amount of revenue as the previous year on existing construction. So no one is responsible in reference to mayor, metro council, the assessor property, in reference to that reduction in the tax rate. It is the state of Tennessee that wants to ensure that the reappraisal remains revenue neutral. So they require that tax rate be reduced to a revenue neutral tax rate. And then it's the reappraisal that we believe as a sticker shock, because it is a delayed valuation of real property, which is one of the reasons why we do believe that reappraisal being done more frequently will remove sticker shock.
Can I say one thing?
Sure
There's a lot of folks saying that the tax rate has to be raised in the reappraisal year.
No, it doesn't.
It absolutely doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
it can
right.
be raised or lowered any year by the mayor and the council.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was not raised in the reappraisal years of 17 and 21.
Mm-hmm.
It was raised in 2012, the year before the 2013 reappraisal.
That was to realize the revenue prior to the reappraisal.
Yes.
Because the reappraisal was going to reduce the tax rate down.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that tax rate did go down in 2013 afterwards when the values went up, and it remained there. 2020, Mayor Cooper raised the tax rate. And then in 2021,
in the reappraisal.
Yes. Yeah, he raised it the year before the reappraisal. Mm-hmm. And then in the reappraisal year, the values went up, the tax rate went down, and the tax rate stayed lower. Mm-hmm. And in that 2021 year, half of the county, which was below the 34% increase, the median increase, half of the county's taxes went down. That is fact. Mm-hmm. You do not have to raise the tax rate in a reappraisal year.
So what are your appeals options for the 2026 tax year? Well, first, let's just say this. In 2025, your new values were mailed on Friday, April 18th, and they were made available also on that same day. Can you appeal in 2026? Yes. You have the right to file an informal review. Your informal review deadlines have passed for the 2026 assessment year, but you still have the right to appeal, which you can file a formal appeal to the Independent Metro Board of Equalization. You can file a formal appeal to the Independent State Board of Equalization after you have filed an appeal to the Independent MBOE and received a decision. You can appeal every year. Every year. So let's just go through the methods for informal review, although the deadline has passed. The best method is to file an informal review online at padctn.org. You could have began that process almost 3 months ago, January the 20th at 8:30 a.m. through April the 17th, shy of 3 days of 3 months, but April 17th at 4 p.m., you had the opportunity to file an informal review. That deadline has passed. You could have called our office and spoke with and have talked with one of our appraisers, one of my amazing staffers here in the office, Randy being the top one here, 615-862-6059. But seriously, all of the staff here are not only amazing, they're credible, they're transparent, and they're extremely helpful. And they were always willing to help you file an informal review and give you that assistance. On May the 20th, Office of the Assessor Property from here, those who have filed an appeal by the deadline date of April 17th, we're going to send you, put in the mail, the decision from that informal review, as well as if you don't want to wait on the snail mail, you can go online for the informal review decision and look it up. So if you disagree with the decision of the informal review and you missed your filing of the informal review, you still have the right to appeal to the Independent Metro Board of Equalization. The Independent Metro Board of Equalization will begin scheduling appeals to their board or to their hearing officers. So let me be clear about that. They don't schedule the appeals. We assist them. The law requires that the Office of the Assessor of Property be the administrative arm of the Independent Metro Board of Equalization. The Independent Metro Board of Equalization is solely independent, even though we assist them and they can make a decision regarding our value, okay? However, we have the right and the authority to appeal any decision that they make. That's what makes them independent of our office. They're not a part of our staff. It's independent of our staff. Those are members of the Metro Board who are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the Metro Council. We have nothing to do in reference to who they want to appoint. That is their sole decision. And you can begin to call for appointments for the formal appeals. We finally got our dates solidified. They had not been solidified. And there is going to be a press release to go out today that you can begin filing your appeal 8:30 Tuesday, May 26th, the deadline date of 4 p.m. Friday, June 26th. It is on June 1st of every year that the independent board must begin to convene, and they will be convening for the 2026 assessment year. Now, I know you've heard about the hearings and the timing of hearings that are taking for people who have filed hearings since 2025. Those 2025 hearings will continue until they're completed. At the same time, the Independent Metro Board of Equalization, I don't mind saying it, they are a very hardworking board. They will convene for the 2026 assessment year as well. Unless you appeal in a timely fashion, the last written notice that you receive may become your final assessment, and it will be effective as of January 1, 2026. But if you disagree with the decision from the Independent Metro Board of Equalization, you can appeal to the Independent State Board of Equalization. The thing is, with the Independent State Board of Equalization, they set their own timing of when they're going to hear your appeal. They do not have to complete it within a month. They do not have to complete it within 2 months. They don't have to complete it within a year. We have hearings right now, Randy, that have been, 3 years to a hearing?
Yes, we still have, there are still 107, I think, 2021 and 2022 appeals that still haven't been heard by the State Board of Equalization.
And to add to that, 3 years ago, we had how many at that time? About 2,000?
Yeah, over 2,000.
Yeah. So you can imagine the property owners concerned there, but they do not have to set a hearing and expedite the hearing quickly. Property owner who is waiting for a hearing have the authority to pay the undisputed portion of their tax bill if they have a hearing.
Yes, if they have an appeal schedule.
That's right. And then if you don't appeal in a timely fashion, the last written notice that you receive becomes your final assessment, which will be effective as of 1/1 of the year of the appeal. You can appeal your property value or your classification, but you cannot appeal your tax rate. So remember, your value is in place for you to appeal, but your tax rate, the one that is 26% higher in the urban services district, the same tax rate that is 39% higher in the general services district, you cannot appeal those tax rates. And then, of course, any decision from the 2026 assessment year is only going to affect the 2026 assessment year. Now, we're now at the point of questions. I would like to move towards some questions that has been asked of us from the League of Women Voters. I understand they want to know, or that the public wants to know, why is property assessment a public service? Well, the reason why it's a public service is that it is centered around being fair, equitable, and in taxation, as well as being transparent. So it is a public service so that everyone pays their lawful share to fund essential public services like schools, safety, and infrastructure. The question is being asked to describe the staffing and roles in the property assessment division. What is the budget? What percentage of the Metro budget is allocated to the property assessor's office? I would say that our office is a staff, a professional team of appraisers, analysts. We don't have mappers here because the mappers are in the planning division, but we do have people who are professional in customer service. We answer the phone in this office. Go ahead, try out a test and find out who's answering the phone in the Metro offices. And we hear time after time again that we answer the phone here. So we have amazing customer service and administrative staff. All of these people work together to conduct mass appraisal and public outreach. Well, when it comes down to public outreach, Randy, I think it's just you and me.
Yes, pretty much.
Exactly. We have a budget that is a $10.1 million budget of a $3.1 billion metro budget. So you can do the math in reference to the percentage there. So the next question is, let's see, what percent? Okay, what percent? Yeah, well, I've already answered that question. $10.1 million budget of a $3.1 billion budget. And that is a very small fraction of the budget that we represent. While we do support, in reference to the values that we provide, it funds more than 57% of the work that we do, funds more than 57% of the city's budget. What I mean by that is that when there is a payment of taxes, it begins with two things: a value that is provided by this office and a tax rate that is provided by the mayor and metro council to tell you how much that you must pay. That represents 57% of the city's budget. Then there's the question is, how is the local assessment process governed by state law and overseen by the State Division of Property Assessment? That was a very, very, very good question. A very, very good question. The assessments are governed by Tennessee law, and they're regularly audited by the Tennessee Division of Property Assessment. And the reason why the audits are done is to ensure compliance, accuracy, equity, including to be sure that we are being revenue neutral when they are setting the certified tax rate. So it is important that we follow the law in the work that we do, and we do not take that lightly. Is there a challenge recruiting and retaining the workforce? Absolutely is a challenge. When you're looking for bright people to do amazing and critical work, it is a challenge at times to find people to fulfill those positions, but they are out there. So yes, it is a challenge. It's an ongoing challenge. During the pandemic, it was even more of a challenge to look for specialized skills and certifications and certified people who are competent and ready to be competitive in doing the work. And we want to, and we always make one of the priorities is to pay people competitively, because the work that they do is very, very important and serious and critical to this county of Davidson. The question is, what is the property assessment cycle? You want to talk about that? Because it was 4 years.
Yeah, so it was 4 years, and then and of course we've gone to the 3-year reappraisal cycle. Mm-hmm. And like Assessor Wilhoite said, that will take some of the sticker shock out. What we're trying to do is then go to a 2-year reappraisal cycle. Hopefully, of course, all this has to be approved by the State Board of Equalization. But we want that sticker shock to be a whole lot less than what it is now.
Absolutely.
Because we do understand that, we do have even some residential properties that are going up 100% or more over a 4-year period in some of these hot areas. Mm-hmm. And it's, it's hard to swallow sometimes, but it's something that we have to do by law. And again, the Division of Property Assessments in the Comptroller's Office audits everything we do. They are very strict on our reappraisal numbers and stats and everything else. And
let's announce the fact that we passed all of the criteria in reference to the reappraisal of 2025.
Yes. And
everything was found to be fair and equitable in our approach to valuation.
Yes, no doubt. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if there are issues, they're going to let us know, and we're going to have to correct those until everything's right before we can send appraisal notices out.
If there is something that we're doing wrong, the state comptroller of the Treasury can take over this office.
Yes.
All right. So who looks at my property? Oh, wow, that's an easy one. Trained staff. Exactly. Yes. Trained staff who are using the mass appraisal approach to valuation and market data they're also looking at. So that is definitely who is looking at your property. And we are continuously making sure that we raise the bar on criteria so that we can bring in valuable and very credible persons to do the work and send them right to courses and classes so they are trained staff that is looking at your property. Yes. We also have here in our office looking at property, various staffers who have certification. You want to share some of those certifications? One I love saying is that the holy grail of all appraisal is the Appraisal Institute. And we have certified staffers who have their credentials from the Appraisal Institute.
Yes, and we do. We have an MAI, which is running the appeals and modeling department.
Mhm.
And he's been with us for 3 years. And Assessor Wilhoite has really. Every reappraisal, we're trying to make it a better reappraisal.
Amen.
And so it's that's the goal. And so we've hired certified general appraisers. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And an MAI, which is a member of the Appraisal Institute, which, like she said, is the highest accreditation you can get, and for an appraiser. And then we have a lot of designated individuals here that have gone through IAAO, which is the International Association of Assessing Officers.
It's a tongue tester.
Yeah. And so they we have many. I don't even know how many we have, but we have a lot. Everybody is constantly taking classes and trying to better themselves. We expect a lot of every employee out here.
Yes.
And if they're not doing the work, we're not going to keep them, because we are a very busy office. When we do a lot that a lot of people don't even realize. I mean, we process every deed that comes through the county.
And when that means we process it, that means we ensure that the deed is one that is a qualified sale, and looking at who bought it, who sold it, because we want to look at qualified sales when we're doing our
Yes,
appraisal.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do change the ownership and everything here. They do, they are filed with the Register of Deeds, and then we receive every one of those so that we can process them and be sure that they were actually filed correctly.
That's
because there are some where legal descriptions, that's not checked at the Register of Deeds office. Here we have to check that the legal description is correct in there and everything else. And if it's not, then we are responsible for contacting the title companies to get them to file scriveners and corrections to the deed.
Yes.
And we do a lot in the office, and we have a lot of hard workers.
We rarely have to remove someone because we are constantly encouraging our staff that they are of value.
Yes.
And so it's very important to let them know that once they get their certification, you can almost go to any one of the 3,000 counties across the United States, and you would be a unicorn in that county coming in with a certification. So we are very excited to announce we have about 12 to 13 employees that will be going through that has received their certification in reference to the International Association of Assessing Officers. We are extremely excited. That's going to probably be the largest that the International Association of Assessing Officers has received at one time. And this is pretty exciting. We're looking forward to talking more about that. So the next question you asked is, what are the benefits of the property assessment for government versus the owner? Well, the benefits is that when you have the government in reference to the benefits that of property assessment, you're looking for stability, predictability or predictable revenues for service. And what we're talking about is when you're giving a value in the reappraisal year, that value stays the same for the next 4 years. So you can predict what your value is, even though your property is appreciating during that time, the value stays the same. The only thing that is not predictable is whether the mayor or the metro council may increase the tax rate. But it can't be predictable as long as you are staying in the know of what your government is doing and planning to do. So that's very important. How the benefit is for an owner is that you are getting fair, uniform valuation, and of all things that we encourage that you have is the right to appeal. So that is the benefit that you have from the property assessment. You get the right to appeal, and you can appeal every year. I do appreciate this question of what are the unintended consequences of property assessment for government versus owner. Oh my goodness. Let me just say this. One of the unintended consequences of this is public confusion. And we know and see why. Why? Because you have the timing when you get your value in April, but you think you're saying, wow, my property is appreciated over time. I'm getting a great return on my investment. And then you get your tax bill in October, you have no idea what has happened in between with the increased tax rate. And so you're thinking that the value is what made your tax bill go up. That's not fully true. Your value can impact your bottom line of your tax bill, but the tax rate is what tells you how much you're going to pay. And then for more than half of Davidson County property owners, their tax bill is made up of the increased tax rate because their property increased by less than 45% in value. So that's the unintended consequence. And by that unintended consequence of public confusion, the trust is challenged. And that's the reason why we asked the League of Women Voters, we asked the Business Coalition, we asked various groups across Davidson County, let us present to you about the appraisal of 2025. We want you to be informed. We want you to be equipped with who does what and who's responsible for what portion of your tax billing. And when you know this information, you can be better informed about who you need to go to for what part of the bill. For us, it's the value. You come to us to appeal your value. For the tax rate, you have to go to the Mayor and Metro Council. We have nothing to do with that in reference to the decision that was made to increase the tax rate, or if there's decisions made not to increase the tax rate at all, which has happened in 2 reappraisal prior to today.
Yes.
So that is very important. And what is the unintended consequence? In reference for the owner, the perceived affordability and the pressure when the values do rise. And we understand that well. We want owners to know we have to look at the market. And that is the same market that an owner looks at when they're ready to sell their property. They don't want to undersell. They don't want to have their property on the market where it's overvalued, or they may have to adjust the value. So that same market that we're looking at, owners looking at.
Yes, and with the understanding that, yes, and it is a mass appraisal, and we do know there are highs and lows, and that's why Assessor Wilhoite, in the last 10 years, the last 9 years, has done over 350 presentations informing the public that you have the right to appeal. There is a possibility that could be high. We can't go in and individually adjust yours. We have to make those mass adjustments. Some are going to be high and some are going to be low. And then we're not talking about real high, but I mean, we're talking about some are higher than that average. Everything is supposed to be here. So 95 to 100, the majority of the properties are between 95 and 105% of their true value. And then you have outliers that are out there. And those higher ones, she wants you to appeal. We want you to appeal your property value if it's high.
That's right. And I want to add to this that we want you to know and trust the work that we do. We want you to know that we're not pulling these values out of the sky or from parts of our bodies. I always say that. So we want you to trust the process. And we think the more educated and informed that you are, the more you'll be informed to make informed decisions and trust the process. And then last, the questions being asked, what national trends do we need to make you aware of? Well, one, the movement to more frequent reappraisal. From the industry that I came from, which is valuation of property at the Tennessee Public Service Commission, it is annual reappraising that they've always felt that was the best for the community because it keeps value at market and reduces the sticker shock. So that is one of the trends. Another trend is that there's an increased movement to use more data analytics and technology. I mean, when you're talking about 281,000 parcels that has to be valued by a certain time, it takes technology to help us get it done, in addition to the visual inspections that we do, in addition to the calculations that we do. It used to be
sales verification.
When you think about
modeling, I mean, it's, actually creating the models to value the property.
Yeah.
It's very time consuming.
Absolutely.
And we have a small frame, time frame that we have to deal with because we have to use for the 2025 reappraisal, we had to use every 2024 sale. So we can't really start processing everything fully until January. And then we're expected to be done by March. And we have to look at each one of these neighborhoods individually, and these neighborhoods are broken down into sub neighborhoods.
Yes.
There's a lot of work involved. and we work a lot of overtime during that period.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. You see us with the lights on.
We don't.
We're here.
We aren't paid for the overtime. We receive hour for hour comp time.
That's right. That's right. And one of the things that Randy just said about the fact that we have to wait to January is because we have to take in every sale that have occurred in the county. And so that sale could go all the way down to December the 31st. So we have to take in every sale. And then
the state's going to look at every single sale that's in the package.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then last, a national trend is a greater focus on equity, transparency, and public education. We're all about that. That's the reason why we've done more than 350 public education and growing. We have one next week. We have 3 behind that. We're constantly wanting to educate people, the community, about the reappraisal process and about the process in of itself. And we're not waiting for people to call us. We're calling on people, just as we called on the League of Women Voters of Davidson County. So those are the questions that I think that we have here. How do I unshare?
There's a question in the chat.
Okay, we will go there. We can't see the chat. Just one moment. Okay, in the show. Hold on, we're gonna go there.
I guess was the American Rescue Plan Act money included in revenue neutral property appraisals of 2026 or not?
Okay,
259,000, 260,000.
Okay, we see the question. Was the American Rescue Plan Act money, which is over $259,810 that Nashville received, included in revenue neutral property appraisal of 2026 or not? That will be something that will go to the mayor. We are not aware that they gave us $259,810. We're not aware of that. We ask for a budget of what we know that we need in order to do the work that we do, and wherever that money may come from is stating that is the money that we need.
And the property appraisals of 2026, that's this year, that's not revenue neutral. That's not a reappraisal year. The reappraisal year is 2025, which is the revenue neutral reappraisal.
Yeah, there is no reappraisal.
And we can't look at any money that's coming in or anything else. All we can look at are comparable sales, look at the market to determine the value. We can't look at who lives in there, how much money they have.
Yeah.
We can't look at anything.
No.
By law, we have to just look at the property. What's it worth if you put a sign in the front yard?
So that question will go to your Metro Council person or go to the mayor, and you can ask them how do they disperse it. But there's nothing has been shared with us that we've gotten $259,810 from the American Rescue Plan. We're not aware of that.
I think the same person who asked that one is just asking what the definition of the windfall is, and I think
okay, sure enough. I did give an example of what is a windfall. I don't mind providing it again. That's what we're here to do, to clear up any confusion and misinformation that any person may have. So give me the example again of what is a windfall. A windfall is extra money unintended, right? Okay, so in the reappraisal year of, let's just say 2021, we said your value was $100,000, your value, and you don't pay on the $100,000 itself. You pay on a percentage of that. If you're a residential property owner, you pay on 25%. Taxes on 25%. That's $25,000. If you are a commercial property owner, you pay on 40% of that value. That's $40,000. If it's personalty, that is chairs, computers, cars, anything that you use in your business in order for it to operate, you pay on 30% on those assets in your business. That is what you pay on. It's not the whole $100,000. We go 4 years later and we say your value is now $200,000. In the 2021 reappraisal year, the tax rate, let's say, was $3. If you calculate $3 against your value, you just say whatever your amount is going to be is X. Is okay, yes. But when you go 4 years later, you got a higher value and still the tax rate is $3, just mathematic in your mind. Higher value, same tax rate, that's a windfall. That's extra money. So what the state does, they take that $3, say, no, that tax rate needs to be $1. In order for the total amount of what is collected is the same as the previous year on existing construction.
We've about run out of time. Our meeting convener Karen has had to go back to work, so I'm going to close us out. I'd just like to say thank you on behalf of the League of Women Voters for taking your time to come and meet with us today, and I hope that people have gained some new information and understanding of our property taxes. Anyway, thanks so much.
Well, let me just say this. If anyone has any questions regarding anything of this presentation, please give us a call at 615-862-6330. We answer the phone here.
Well, that's trustee.
Oh, 615-862-6330. Oh, that is the trustee.
That's if you need answers.
Yes, if you need answers in reference to programs that can assist you in the payment of your taxes, we definitely encourage you to call the trustee's office. But if you have questions regarding your value, and you want to just have some questions regarding the presentation, please give us a call at 615-862-6080. And if you have any question that you want to email us, definitely feel free to contact me individually at Vivian.Wilhoite, WILHOITE @Nashville.gov, or with my partner in crime, but there's no crime being committed over here, is Randy.Ward@Nashville.gov. And we really, 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 really want you to visit our website at PADCTN.org. We take we get great value in making sure we have some good information online, and you can look up and see what Mrs. Crab is doing in her house and different stuff like that. That's a joke, in other words. But thank you so much. I appreciate for this opportunity. And is it possible that we can get a copy of the presentation?
I think so. I believe it was recorded, so
Yes.
I will make sure that happens. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, because we want to make sure we post it as well.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Have a good afternoon.
Y'all take care. All right. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.